You're sitting on the couch, maybe scrolling through your phone, maybe watching TV. And then you feel it. That strange feeling that someone is watching you. You look up, and there they are. Your dog. Sitting quietly across the room, completely still, eyes locked on you like they're trying to read your mind. No barking, no wagging, just staring. Most dog owners have experienced this moment. Sometimes it lasts only a few seconds. Other times it feels almost uncomfortable, like your dog knows something you don't. So naturally, people come up with simple explanations. Maybe they want food. Maybe they want to go outside. Maybe they're just waiting for attention. But animal behavior researchers say that stare might mean something much more interesting. Because when a dog looks at you like that, they may actually be communicating in one of the most powerful ways dogs know how. And once you understand what that stare really means, it changes the way you see that moment entirely. Most people assume the answer is simple. When a dog stares at you, it usually means they want something. Maybe they're hoping for food. Maybe they want to go outside. Maybe they're waiting for a walk, a treat, or a little attention. And sometimes that explanation is absolutely correct. Dogs are incredibly good at watching humans because over thousands of years, they've learned that our movements often predict something important: a meal, a toy, or a trip to the door. But here's the interesting part. Dogs don't stare at everything the same way. The way your dog watches a piece of food on the table is very different from the way they sometimes look directly into your eyes. That slower, quieter stare, the one where your dog seems completely focused on you, is something scientists have studied very closely. And what they discovered suggests that stare may have far less to do with food, and far more to do with the unique relationship dogs have developed with humans. Because in the animal world, direct eye contact can mean many different things. But between dogs and people, it has evolved into something surprisingly powerful. To understand why your dog stares at you, we have to look at something humans usually take for granted: eye contact. In the animal world, direct eye contact is often a sign of tension or challenge. Many species avoid it completely because staring can signal aggression. But dogs are different. Over thousands of years living alongside humans, dogs evolved to use eye contact in a completely unique way. In fact, researchers studying dog behavior discovered that when dogs look into their owner's eyes, something remarkable happens inside the brain. Both the human and the dog begin releasing a powerful neurochemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin is sometimes called the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that strengthens the emotional connection between parents and their children. And when dogs and humans look at each other, both species experience that same bonding effect. But here's the fascinating part. The longer the gaze lasts, the stronger that chemical response becomes. Which means that quiet moment when your dog sits across the room, calmly staring at you, might actually be one of the ways they strengthen the bond between you. What makes this even more fascinating is that scientists didn't just observe this behavior. They tested it. In one well-known study, researchers measured oxytocin levels in both dogs and their owners during moments of eye contact. The results were remarkable. When a dog looked at its owner and the owner looked back, oxytocin levels increased in both of them at the same time. But the effect didn't stop there. As oxytocin rose in the human, it encouraged more affection, more eye contact, more gentle attention toward the dog. That response caused oxytocin in the dog to rise even further. It created a feedback loop. The dog felt more connected. The human felt more connected, and the bond between them strengthened. But here's the part that surprised researchers the most. When the same experiment was performed with wolves raised by humans, The loop didn't activate at all. Even wolves that had been raised around people from a young age didn't produce the same response, which suggests something extraordinary. This kind of emotional communication through eye contact didn't just happen naturally. It evolved specifically between dogs and humans over thousands of years of living together. To understand why dogs developed this behavior, we have to look far back in time. Long before dogs lived in our homes, their ancestors were wolves moving through forests and open landscapes, surviving by reading the smallest signals from the animals around them. Eye contact mattered in those environments. But when certain wolves began living closer to human settlements thousands of years ago, something unusual began to change. The animals that were calmer around people, the ones more willing to watch humans, observe their movements, and stay nearby, had a better chance of survival. Over many generations, those wolves slowly became the animals we now know as dogs. And during that long process of domestication, dogs became incredibly skilled at reading human behavior. In fact, studies show dogs are better at interpreting human social signals than almost any other animal on Earth. So when your dog watches you closely, they may not just be staring out of curiosity. They might be studying your face, your posture, even the smallest movements you make. Because to a dog, your eyes, your expressions, and your body language reveal an enormous amount of information. But sometimes that stare isn't about reading you at all. Sometimes it means something much simpler and much more emotional. So the next time you notice your dog quietly staring at you from across the room, it might help to see that moment a little differently. Because from your dog's perspective, that stare isn't random. It's communication. Sometimes they're trying to understand what you're about to do. Sometimes they're reading your mood, watching for the smallest signal that tells them what comes next. But other times, that quiet gaze means something even simpler. Connection. For thousands of years, dogs have evolved alongside humans, learning to read our faces, our movements, and our emotions better than almost any other species on Earth. And when your dog looks directly into your eyes, it may be one of the clearest signs of the bond you share. Not just curiosity, not just attention. Trust. A silent moment where your dog recognizes you as the center of their world. So now I'm curious. What does your dog usually do when they stare at you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy discovering the hidden psychology behind everyday dog behavior, don't forget to subscribe for the next video.